Foobar. Welcome to Ventre Garage. Yes, I did change the name of the channel because if you guys haven't yet, you're going to get tired of hearing me talk about oil. So I want to open it up to more of the how-to, repairing stuff, things like that. It seems that I'm getting a lot more views on those videos than I am the theory behind synthetic lubricants and stuff like that. So we're going to go more towards that. So to start it off, I changed the wheel bearing on this 2003 Mazda 6. The rear wheel bearing. I did that a couple days ago, and so I'm going to go through the how-to on that. So first thing is to take the wheel off. Next, I need to remove these two caliper bolts, the caliper mounting bracket bolts. They're here on the back. They're 14 millimeter. Then we'll pull the caliper off, and I just set it here on the rear trailing arm. You don't want to let it hang from the brake line. It could put stress on it and eventually break it. Now normally you would have two screws here, and usually they are rusted in and you gotta drill them out and all that stuff. So I never put them back in, because once you mount the wheel, it mounts your rotor on there. So I don't have any, but these are sometimes a pain. You can sometimes cut a slot in there with a grinder and then use a flathead to get them out, or just drill them out. Holy crap, my cheapo impact took it off. And there it's off. And you can tell it's bad. There's a bunch of play in there. That's what was making our rumbling noise while we were driving. Here's a view of what this bad wheel bearing has done to the tire. If you see, it's rounded off right here because it's been rubbing on the inside where the outside has a more square look. So the tire was sitting like this because of the bad wheel bearing. So hopefully this will straighten it up. I'll get a new tire eventually and it'll be good to go. So here are the two bolts for the caliper mounting bracket. This one, if you look here, there's a hole in the trailing arm, so you can reach the socket through the backside there. So the installation is the exact opposite of the removal. take our bearing and slide it on. Hopefully. And you really are supposed to replace this nut. I don't have one, I forgot to get one, so I'm gonna reuse it. So the instructions say it's very important not to torque the nut with an impact wrench because you could damage the bearing. So the instructions say 176 Newton meters to 235 Newton meters, which is, my torque wrench goes to 150 foot-pounds. So, and 150 foot-pounds is somewhere around 200 Newton meters. So we're gonna go with that. And now I'm just going to ding that spot back in on the nut. So I had forgot that this caliper piston, you have to turn it to push it in. And so I was going to leave the caliper on the mounting bracket and just compress the pads to get it back on. But that's not possible here because you got to turn it. So I'm going to take these needle nose and put them in here, and then you just turn it and it will compress. And then we'll have room to put it all back together. On a side note, you don't want to compress that piston any more than it would normally be compressed as far as flush, because then you'll go past the point in the bore where it's used to going, and then your seal might leak. Next, we'll put our rotor on, and this is where you would put those bolts back in. But again, the wheel holds it tight to the hub. And so I never put those back in because I can never get them out. It's probably not the recommended method, but that's just how I always do it. Now we'll put the caliper mounting bracket back on. Torque on these is only 30 foot-pounds. My torque wrench is too long, it won't fit in here. So I just snug them up as best I can. Next I'll put the pads in. And there's this little spring that goes on there. Then you want to grease these pins before you put them in so that they'll float. So these bolts are actually 30 foot-pounds. The caliper mounting bracket bolts, the first two, those were 66 foot-pounds. So, but again, I can't fit my torque wrench in here, so I just snug them up real good. And now we'll put the dust cap on. Just kind of try to tap it on there evenly. One thing that I forgot to mention is on the back side of this rotor, it's a good idea to put a little bit of anti-seize, and then I put anti-seize on this side so that next time I try to take the wheel off, it doesn't, the aluminum wheel and the steel hub like to get stuck to each other, and so I like to put a little bit of anti-seize on there, and then I never have that problem. That was way too much. And now I'll let it down off the jack stand and torque the wheels. And now I'm torquing the wheel lug nuts to 87 foot-pounds. So that's it, guys. Not too terribly hard. It took me about 30-40 minutes with filming, which always takes a little bit longer, but not a hard job at all. If you thought that the video was useful, please like and subscribe. If there's something else you'd like to see, ask a question, think that I need to improve something, please let me know in the comments. All that stuff helps. Check out my Facebook page and my website. They're linked in the description, and there's also a link in the description for the wheel bearing that I used, where I got it on Amazon. So I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do make a small amount of money off of that if you buy through that link. So that helps the channel out. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.